wrote the U.S. Army Regulation 700-48, the U.S. Army PAM 700-48, and the Army's Command Task DU Incidents. Doug has taught nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare hazards, material, and emergency medicine for 20 years to both civilian and military personnel. Dr. Doug Rokke was one of the original authors of the 82 EDRAT Emergency Disaster Response Assistance Team proposal, which formed the foundation of today's National Guard CSD teams and the Illinois CERT teams, the preparation for the 96 Olympics. In Atlanta, he wrote and taught the original chemical, biological, counterterrorism course for the civilian emergency responders and is now in use in 120 by the federal government, 120 city and departments, and the Justice Department course, and then served as emergency response team located in Birmingham, Alabama. And he sent us an entire stack, I'm looking for them, here it is, of government declassified documents where they admit, and Los Alamos admits, this stuff will kill you deader than a hammer. Okay, Dr. Doug Rokke, we're honored to have you. You've got the floor, sir. Break it down.
Thank you very much, sir, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where to begin. This has been a nightmare for over 20 years that I've been involved, and it continues to be a nightmare. There is not a single day that does not go by, 24 hours a day, where I do not get a phone call or an email or a knock on the door from a sick, ill, wounded, injured veteran or their family members seeking help, much less alone trying to get my own help. It's been an ongoing thing. I mean, when we look at what has happened, the United States, going back, many, many years ago, with all the downwinders and the atomic bomb testing and everything else, and then we had all the Agent Orange from Vietnam. Then we kept going, and we kept going with all the immunization mess, the Project Chad stuff, which is, again, deliberate use of chemical and biological warfare munitions on civilians all over the United States and the military, and that continues as we speak. And then we get to DU. Desert Storm, what a wonder. How do we, in our right mind, justify what we have done to the world and what we've done to our sons and daughters? I mean, Alex, how can anybody justify what we've done? Are you there?
Yeah, well, the Cowboys are on. That's all that matters.
That's part of the whole thing. I think one of the most astonishing things about all this is that most individuals truly are more interested in a football game or a basketball game or whatever they have in a six-pack of beer, rather than dealing with the health and environmental consequences of military operations or our industry that's just trashed our world, aren't they? I mean, why don't I can't understand why people don't see this and they don't feel outraged. Do you?
Well, they're poisoned through the food, the vaccines, the aspartame, the fluoride, and they're childlike. They can't believe their government would hurt them or do something bad. And if they ever face the fact that all of this is real, that they're being soft-killed along with their family, they'd have to do something about it. But more and more people are waking up and getting concerned.
They have to. I mean, slowly I'm getting more congressional staff that are listening, but I still have too many that don't want to do anything. And an election coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, this election coming up is critical. What we're hearing all over on the ads here in Illinois is continuous mudslinging. He did this, or he didn't do this, or he wasn't nice, or he didn't give me my Cheerios. I want to know what they're going to do to clean up the environment. I want to know what they're going to do to stop the slaughter of our sons and daughters and the slaughter of all the other children in the world. I want to know what they're going to do to provide medical care for all of the military veterans that have earned it, because we went on these missions that we never really needed to do, and we got totally trashed. I mean, that's what needs to happen. I don't know. It's irritating. And I know, Alex, you must, you're doing the radio show day in and day out, and you hear people all outraged all over the world trying to do something, trying to make a difference. You try to make a difference. But the question I have is, why isn't a difference being made? Why don't we see changes?
Well, we're seeing an acceleration of evil in an attempt to totally overwhelm us and make us capitulate. We are seeing changes in the foreclosures being halted by 5 major banks, including Bank of America, the biggest mortgage holder in the country, because it's come out that most of the mortgages were written up fraudulently. And so, yeah, I mean, the empire's falling, the dollar's imploding. I think we are seeing change. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the movie Force 10 from Navarone as a parallel, and then we'll go to break. But they go into the dam, and they bomb it, and they're trying to bomb it to stop the German army going into the Balkans. And they're sitting there waiting, and they look at the bomb expert, and they say, why hasn't it fallen? Why hasn't the dam ruptured? He says, give it a minute. Give it a minute. And then it starts cracking, and then it totally implodes. And so the dam now has water shooting out of it. I mean, we see the holes forming. The problem is we're going to get drowned when it collapses. We'll be right back. This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now, new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365.
The question is, where should the American people draw their line in the sand?
What have we got? A republic or a monarchy?
A republic
is based on a constitution which protects minority rights.
Not democracy, not mob rule, 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
So they think they own our land, they think they own our water, children, our education, our money.
We have to define who we are and what we will tolerate.
Somebody's going to ask you what you did during the Patriot Uprising.
You have been warned.
We have the facts. We have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. We have common law. Knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm so excited to be able to offer you Don't Tread on Me, Rise of the Republic. Tyranny is upon us, but liberty and the sleeping giant that is the American people is rising. A new tool in the info war. Don't Tread on Me. Order it at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139 and support independent, patriotic Liberty films.
Hi, this is Dwayne Daly with Midas Resources, Precious Metals Brokers, and my phone number is 800-686-2237, extension 115. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, then perhaps it's time for a change. You have the opportunity to make a change in November by voting, and the opportunity to make a change in your financial security today by calling me, Dwayne Daly. Get the stability and peace of mind that you deserve with gold and silver, a form of wealth protection for 5,000 years. As the inflation pinch becomes tighter and the dollar continues to devalue, while stocks remain iffy at best, stop the bleeding with precious metals. Metals will let you retain your purchasing power, protect your assets, and stop inflation the day you get in. I have many different ways to accomplish this, from metals for possession to IRA rollovers, tax-free, and everything in between. So if you would like to turn your scrambled nest egg into a souffle, call me, Dwayne Daly, at 800-686-2237, extension 115. 800-686-2237, extension 115. If you are ready for a change, please call Dwayne Daly.
What is a wind generator?
How can the wind produce power for a small cabin?
How can wind energy be stored and used during an emergency?
Can I assemble my own wind generator?
For answers to questions about wind power, visit windbluepower.com. Did you know the wind could provide your family with emergency power? It can with a wind generator from windbluepower.com. Learn how our amazing LightBreeze wind generator kits start charging a 12-volt battery and just 6 mile per hour wind. Or see the new Cyclone X2 dual kit featuring 2 wind generators on just 1 tower. And learn why schools and universities across the country utilize our products to teach about wind power and alternative energy at windbluepower.com. All kits qualify for a 30% IRS tax credit for residential energy efficient property. Enter coupon code RADIO for a 5% discount at windbluepower.com. That's windbluepower.com or call 800-976-0026. That's 800-976-0026.
To elaborate on Dr. Doug Rokke, former head of DU weapons program for the Army and Army research in DU, it does not require a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen to set brush fires in people's minds. That was Sam Adams, one of the original fire starters of liberty in 1776. Doc, I want you to get into the basics of DU. Then I want to get into calls next segment. But I understand, you know, that you're wounded, you're pained by this. But we are seeing big changes, and it's going to take time. And the enemy is going to strike back. But this is irreversible, what's now happening. I can tell you, studying history, and I can feel it in my gut as well, and it's never wrong, that the battle is joined and tyranny is in a fight for its life with the free spirit of humanity. But please continue getting into DU.
Okay, let's talk about depleted uranium specifics. First off, the term depleted is a misnomer. There's nothing really depleted about it. Uranium munitions are actually the byproduct of the uranium enrichment process conducted by the U.S. Department of Energy. For every 100 pounds of pure uranium that goes in the enrichment process, 99.2 pounds is pure waste. Okay, and that's what we call uranium hexafluoride, which is then processed to form uranium munitions. Uranium munitions consist of kinetic energy penetrators or bullets, so we have the 5.56 millimeter, the 7.62 millimeter, and the 50 caliber. Those are rifle bullets. They're made out of the uranium. Then we have the 20 millimeter for the Navy phalanx, the 25 millimeter for the Army Bradley fighting vehicle and the Marine Corps lab, etc. The 30 millimeter for on the gunships and everything in the A-10. Then we get up to the tank rounds, 105 millimeter, 125 millimeter, and the primary 120 millimeter. Now, these are all gigantic slugs of uranium. And what they're actually made up is uranium hexafluoride, was the primary product that went into it. But what we end up with is these isotopes, uranium-234, uranium-235, which is the uranium-236, uranium-238, which is the predominant amount, probably 99% of it, plutonium, neptunium, and americium. So we have a toxic radiological compound that this stuff is made up of. So what we end up with is a whole host of uranium munitions. The kinetic energy penetrators, which are like bullets or giant rods of uranium. Think a gigantic dart. You know, everybody's played darts. That's what these look like. Except that the tank round is 10 pounds of uranium, and the 30 millimeter round that's fired by the A-10 is 3/4 of a pound of uranium, fired at 4,000 rounds a minute. That's 1.5 tons of uranium on target per minute. Incredible amount of volume of uranium radioactive materials. And then up and beyond that, we have the atom and the pedum. Now, the atom and the pedum, think about a giant softball. The outer casing of the softball is made of uranium, DU, and it's filled with high explosives. Incredibly effective against all personnel and animals and children and everything else. Totally used by the Israelis in Lebanon, totally used by the Israelis in Gaza, by the U.S. in the Balkans, and again, Iraq and Afghanistan.
And by the way, the prevailing winds out of Gaza blow right into Israel, and the winds also blow from the north for part of the year, right out of Lebanon. And I mean, it's just, it's the equivalent of a gun that you fire at your enemy, but it fires a soft kill weapon back at you because, as you know, sir, the rounds ignite as they leave the barrel and are shedding massive amounts of this uranium.
That's absolutely correct. See, one of the things that the people would like everybody to believe is this stuff doesn't do anything until it hits the target, and that's pure nonsense. It's shedding immediately, and that's what we've proven to watch the videos and photographs. You can go back and pull up the stuff that we did for CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. You can pull up the stuff on 60 Minutes, on Dateline, Nightline, the BBC, the Canadian Broadcasting. You can see it all there. You can pull up the videos and actually look at it yourself and find out how it works. You know, so what we do know, the very earliest work that I know of and the work that I used for when I was director of the Depleted Uranium Project for the U.S. Army, I used all the research reports when the United States gave Israel uranium munitions to use against the Egyptians during the Arab-Israeli War in 1973. And so our 1974 report, which confirmed all the health and environmental effects, was written as a consequence of giving Israel the use of uranium munitions to use in that Arab-Israeli War in 1973. Medical reports I've got for the UN troops and the other people that were on site, totally confirmed. The medical problems are all there. The environmental problems, the on-site contamination that exists to this day out there in the Sinai is all confirmed. So that's where we had the earliest stuff. And then, again, we had an inventory, but we didn't really start to use it until Desert Storm in 1990 and 1991. So when we set up Desert Storm in early spring of 1990 to get the U.S. military in there to control the oil, We did all our baiting and switching to get Saddam to give him the approval to go into Kuwait. After